Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Truth, lies, shenanigans. 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 It's the TLS show, coming to you live from the TLS show. It's the TLS show, coming to you live from the TLS show.
Hey, welcome to the Truth, Lies, Shenanigans podcast. Social commentary, hot topics, and amazing guests with a ton of fun and shenanigans along the way. This week, we were expecting actor Javon Anderson to join us, but he had to cancel last minute for a family emergency. But we've got to talk about this awful Supreme Court. Plus, Gianni Storm brings us our new segment, the TLS WTF of the week. All right, before we get into the show, let me introduce you to my amazing co-hosts. First up, the gamer, tech guru, and rock star with the rock band Fallen Machine, coming to you from Sudbury, Ontario, Mr. Rob B. Rock.
Happy Fun Day Sunday, everyone. It has been a busy week. It has been a hot week. Joe and I have been getting outside in the garden and the pool a lot more. We've rebooted our morning yoga practice. I helped my son-in-law with some branch removal on their property. I assembled and dropped off an early birthday barbecue for my daughter. So it's been an amazing week. And tonight, we're going to cap it off. Joe and I are going to watch the latest Doctor Strange movie in the Multiverse of Madness. So no spoilers. Please don't type anything in the comments.
How about good movie? I enjoyed it.
Excellent.
I enjoyed it.
But we never agreed during Black on Black cinema. Oh, no.
Funny. Okay, and our college student, actress, model, and entrepreneur, streaming from Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Gianni Storm.
Happy Sunday, fun day. This week, Rob said it best. It's been busy and hot. Those are really good words to describe this week. Hotlanta. And it's been raining a lot. But next week I'm excited. I'm actually I'm changing my car. I didn't tell you guys, but I was in an accident and I'm switching car vehicles. And so I'm making that trend. Yeah, I'm alive, clearly, as you see.
I was gonna say, are you okay? I mean,
alive and well.
Yeah. It was a little, but yeah, I'm switching cars. So I'm kind of, it's bittersweet a little bit.
Wait, so I need to know whose fault was
first car?
No, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault this time. It was a hit and run.
This time. Ooh,
oh no.
Yeah.
Run too.
But it was at a stop. I didn't go far. It was just it was a red light, so I didn't go far. And yeah. So it wasn't my fault this time. But everything, I have insurance. I'm covered, guys. I'm good. I'm just getting
good. Well, I'm glad you're well, and everybody else as well. There were no other injuries at the accident.
Yeah, everybody else was good. The guy fled the scene like he was in a movie. It was actually funny to watch, but no, everybody else is good. Nobody.
Wait, how is it funny to watch? How is it funny to watch?
Because the way the guy drew. Okay, so he hits me, and then he drives in traffic and goes like in the middle of where the intersection is, and then he drives over to a parking lot and like knocks down trees trying to escape the scene.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, somebody got the on their dash cam. I'll give it to you guys. I have it. I'll give it to you guys. It's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
We'll show it next show. All right. Well, we're glad you're okay, Gianni.
Absolutely.
And of course, I'm Neo Nix, and I've got my thinking cap on today. It's actually a replica of the cap worn by Dustin in season 3 of Stranger Things. So, Yeah. My wa-
Give us your best Dustin smile.
Oh gosh, no, I'm good. This is the best I could do. But yeah, my wife got it for me actually because I was watching the show. I was like, I got to get me one of those. I got to get me a thinking cap. I was like, I love it. So yeah, so she got it for me. It's pretty awesome. So, do you watch Stranger Things?
Love
I
Stranger
haven't watched the
Things.
latest season.
Okay. You, Gianni, have you watched season 3 yet?
Yes, I
Oh,
love
so you're
it.
caught up.
I'm in,
You're caught up. Yeah, this is a
yeah,
good season too. This is a really good season. I mean, it's only halfway through. I mean, the next half drops in I think beginning of July. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's you got to catch up. It's really good. This season's actually really good. It was a little slow for me, but once you realize why it's slow, it's definitely worth it.
Oh, in the
Good
beginning, you said it was
storytelling.
slow.
Yeah, I was trying to stick with it. It was a little slow for me, but it pays off. It pays off, and it pays off.
Does
Or was she's
it's
hoping that you are more inspired? So Mike Winter says she's hoping that you are inspired to think more. My wife. I think. Well, anyway, I think it caps on today, so we're good. All right, I know a lot of you are wondering where Liz E is. She's taken on a big project for a summer, which requires her to work on the weekend. So we've got a lineup of amazing guest hosts throughout the summer. We were expecting Javon Anderson to be here today. Fortunately, he did have that issue, so it's going to be the three of us. So I'm looking forward to it. So well, let's go ahead and get started with our show. All right. Sorry, wrong button. Anyway, so we've got a brand new segment we're calling the TLS WTF of the week. All right, Gianni Storm. What's going on?
okay, guys. What WTF? China has a pornography mind reading device now.
What?
So, so research created a device that can tell when men are watching porn. So this is a move to eventually ban all porn consumption. And this device called the Porn Helmet Police basically is able to detect brainwaves that are triggered when you're exposed to sexual content. So my question to you is, what would your reaction to be if our country or Rob's country banned?
The Americas. What's
What would you?
If they banned porn or if they created some mind reading device, which one?
No, the that's a good one too. I want to get your thoughts on the mind reading device as well. But more importantly, right now, the what if your country banned all porn or all sexual content? Like even with our music videos, they can get a little bit raunchy. So, how would you guys feel about that?
Robbie, what do you think?
He put
it
it.
would. I mean, it would make for I guess, a cleaner society, if you will, because we know that addiction to pornography is a real thing and it really messes with people's brains. So, in that
Wait,
respect,
can you
absolutely,
elaborate
I
on
think that
that?
there would. Um, I, it alters the way that you think. It changes how you perceive sexuality. It because it's a dopamine release that's based off of a visual trigger. So some people come to really rely on it, and that's where the addiction is built up. And I mean, there's nothing real about delivering pizza and pornography, right? Let's be real about this. There's nothing real about it. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think that it would be a good thing. People who would want it would produce maybe their own home videos at their risk. But what happens behind your doors? I don't give a shit. But if they
yeah,
were really serious about it, Johnny, what you can out you couldn't really outlaw pornography. I think it'd be very difficult because there's so much money there, and we know that industries that generate a lot of money can do whatever they want. Look at oil, right? But if you wanted to put a real dent in pornography, you block it at the internet service provider level. You make it an extra option that requires the account holder to unlock that feature. You have to
we can.
deliberately unlock it, like adult channels. So, I could just imagine the conversation. Honey, could you please explain how there is porn on our internet? Oh, shit. Because somebody has to greenlight it at the onset. And if you do that, how many people are going to step up and say, hey, yeah, turn on the pornography on my, if your spouse isn't okay with it?
So, Robbie,
There's
I gotta admit,
ingenious ways to do it.
I am surprised. I did not expect you to say that you wanted porn to be banned. I'm really surprised.
I
It's not I mean, there are people who enter it consensually, but at the
Mhm.
end of the day, you never hear about a happy porn star in their twilight years. You hear about a lot of suicides. You hear about a lot of overdoses. You hear about people just disappearing. Hear about people becoming just shriveled husks of what they used to be because of the drug abuse, because of the emotional and psychological trauma they've endured. Stormy Daniels, exception to the rule. I've seen her in interviews. That woman is brilliant, brilliant.
What
But
what
I'm just
about what about like places
general.
like OnlyFans where they're taking control of like they're taking control of what they do with their bodies. I mean, these are women who just they're
like
not.
home.
Seemingly,
Yeah.
seemingly so, Neo. Seemingly so. You think that it's consensual.
I mean,
You think
some
that it's
That's
cases I'm sure
consensual.
it's not. I'm certain in many cases it's
So
not. But
there you
some
but
go.
cases.
but you're saying ban it, right? So you're saying you're okay with banning it altogether, and that's to
Make
prevent. I mean, I agree with Jacqueline Robinson what she says here. Please don't give lawmakers any more ideas giving out loss of personal
Mm,
protections. I mean,
yeah.
banning it is a stretch. I mean, making it more difficult to get maybe, or I mean, I don't know.
So
I'm
you
I'm
tell
not a fan of
maybe you
banning it.
can, but maybe you can rhyme off a couple of positive aspects of the porn industry for me.
yeah.
I
In
mean,
in society, in
sure.
But it's
I
more
society,
mean,
tell me.
well, I was leaning. Okay, so I was leaning towards the fact that, of course, you know, women have the ability to sell. When women, whoever wants to sell sex to someone who um wants to buy it, they can. I mean, you have the freedoms of like uh OnlyFans and the porn sites, and it's safe because they're able to do it in their own homes. They're able to do whatever they need to do. I mean, they have, and they're. I mean, yeah, they're making a living off of entertainment. I mean, whatever that entertainment is. I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, and
there.
I just have a concern. I don't have a concern with limiting it, and I understand the negatives of it. I have a problem with banning it altogether. That's where my problem lies. It's like we have to have some freedoms. I mean, I don't know about
It's
banning it.
it's just an industry that's very difficult where that line gets blurred so easily.
It can, it can. I mean, but that's with anything. It can get blurred easily with just about anything. I mean, Johnny, what are your thoughts? You're the female here.
Oh, what okay. So would I be how would I react to banning porn? I think that I wouldn't like it because I think that would so many thoughts running through my head, but because with porn it's just so many different avenues. I feel like yes, freedom of expression. People make a living off of the sex industry, women and men. More women do. And I feel like to ban something means that, like Neo said a little bit, it's taking away your protections or rights. And I also do agree with Rob that it would make things cleaner and like kids who are just on the internet, if porn was banned and there was no porn at all on the internet, then I would like that a little bit more for my little sister or
I
my,
think there need to be
even though
more controls. No doubt.
they're gonna even watch other
Controls are only
like
good if they're enforced, Neil. How many senseless gun deaths do we see in the US despite controls being in place? If you make it available, if you make it accessible, and that's it. I mean, if it's your jam,
But
great.
ain't
I
no.
mean, create your own homemade content.
I mean,
create your
But
I
the
mean,
minute that it's an
what if
industry that can absolutely prey. It's an industry that does prey upon young women.
it does?
There are
I
some
just.
that enter it very consensually and do their thing, but it is an industry that very historically preys upon young women.
I mean, but historically, for example, the music industry preyed on people and stole musicians' money. Um, that's been the case, but that has changed with education over time. And certainly more educated people over time can make sure that they are not preyed upon and that they can control their bodies, their lives, and things like that. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I do think there need more, definitely be more controls on the internet, especially for children. Um,
Yeah.
because I think I was reading that Billie Eilish said that she consumed a lot of porn and she wishes she
Yeah.
hadn't as a child.
Because
Wow.
it's available, it's
Right. It's
accessible. A
so
lot of
easily
kids
available.
are consuming it because it's just so. Are you 18? Hell yes, I am. No, you're not. You don't understand the implications of what you just clicked. You have no
Yeah.
idea the implications. And
Okay.
let's talk about the technology just for a second. So I believe that the research team was able to record and study the brain impulse of the 15 test subjects. But in order
Yeah.
for them to detect whether or not you're watching porn, you have to be wearing the helmet. So if you're wearing the
Yes.
helmet, that's a pretty good indicator that you shouldn't be surfing any porn because people are going to know. So, you know,
I
if
mean,
everyone's outfitted with this helmet, sure. But I mean,
I was
eh,
confused by the technology too. I'm like, how is that really gonna get people behind bars for this whole porn thing? Like,
ooh,
it would be,
I'm sorry. I'm seeing some
uh,
comments online. I'm seeing some comments online, and I'm like, okay, let's get to some of these comments online. Uh, Mike Winter says, "Let people do whatever they want to do. Stay out of people's bedrooms." I'm with you, Mike. We agree on something. Jacqueline Robinson, porn is indeed appalling. However, is proportional. What China's government is proportional get there is a slippery slope. Uh, Mike Wolf, banning porn would have the same result as we've had with banning drugs. You can still get them. It doesn't solve any of the problems. It just makes it more dangerous for people involved in it. And that's a great point, a counterpoint to your point, Rob, is that the reason that they were easily preyed upon in the past and taken advantage of is because much of it, even though porn was not illegal, things like prostitution, you know, uh, selling sex and uh, going online for sex has been illegal, and so
it is different in the sense that it's a media industry. It's something that is broadcast. It's something that's available for consumption, and it can be limited. It can be controlled. Like I was saying, if it's something that you have to request specifically, then that would force a lot of conversations in a lot of households. And if it shows up, then there's hell to pay
yeah,
because
I
somebody's lying about something.
I agree. Banning it doesn't solve anything though, because it's going to be it's going to be able to be consumed regardless. Porn has been around for centuries, decades, millennia, shoot, even. So it's not that's not we're not going to be able to ban that um, effectively. It's just going to be we're just going to be putting people in jail and making it harder. I like his point that it's going to be more dangerous for people involved in porn. Um, let's see, Mike Winter says government doesn't need to tell people what to do. Parents need to raise their kids. Mike Will says it can't be controlled, Rob. Uh, have you heard of the internet?
But that's where the controls need to be
Yeah,
at the internet level. It shouldn't be distributed. It shouldn't be accessible to you unless you've greenlighted it as a citizen, where you've said yes,
yeah.
greenlight me for pornography.
maybe
And you know what?
I
Then maybe we'll have a registry of these people, so you can say, you know what? No, maybe that's not someone I want to date. No, this person's going. Hey, do you watch porn? No, I don't. You're on the registry.
As far
Someone's
as
lying.
this nonsense with this mind reading device,
All right.
like really, is it gonna? It's not. That's not gonna work. A mind reading device thing is not gonna work. It's nonsense, and I'm sure it's not
Yeah.
really effective.
yeah, I don't think it's
Oh my
effective.
God.
It's more effective just to track what they're doing online. Come on.
It's more effective to give you the helmet and tell you that it tracks you if you're watching porn.
Right.
It doesn't even have to do anything. It just needs to have a couple of flashing LEDs. It's like, nope, that's the anti-porn helmet. It's done.
All right. Last comment, and it's a perfect segue into our next topic. But uh, Jack and Rom says, we're all too young to remember the well-intentioned amendment banning alcohol and how disastrous that was. Ultimately, it was repealed because the ban actually led to more crime, including bootlegging, mob violence, and murders. So yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like our audience doesn't agree too much with Robbie's. This. But that's good. Great conversation. I enjoyed it. All right,
That's
let's.
funny.
All right, so we got to get into these. This topic. We got to get into this topic about the Supreme Court. So,
Yeah.
all right, B, why don't you start us off? Oh,
All right.
one last thing. Hold on. I just saw one more comment. An outright ban is bad. This is George Fournier. It's a slippery slope to censorship. There are many forms of pornography. Only fan pages are such an example, and many women and men utilize OnlyFans to survive during the pandemic, according to stats I read. Just wanted to get that last.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start over. Let's get started. Right. Start us off, buddy.
All right, so round one on SCOTUS. So on June 23rd, this past Thursday, the Supreme Court of the United States struck down a New York state law that had been on the books since 1911 that required anyone requesting a license to carry a gun outside of their homes to have a proper cause to do so. So essentially, no more license required for concealed carry in New York. So this was a 6-3 decision, and the court ruled that the law violated the Second Amendment. And clearly, this is a huge victory for gun right activists who had historically challenged New York's restrictive gun law. And I'm asking you, does this really make New York citizens more or less safe from gun violence? And your reactions to this decision?
What do you think, Gianni?
So, the simple answer to me is yes. I believe that if there were less guns, there would be less gun violence. That makes sense. However, it's such a touchy subject, and I always go back and forth with it because I own a gun legally, and I feel like people, if they want to and are qualified for it, should own a gun. So, and that's not to say that New York isn't making it so that people don't own a gun. It's just they're making it hard for people to own a gun. And I understand because New
Conceal
York
and
is
carry. Hmm.
crime is disgusting out there. But to answer your question, Rob, I do believe that the Supreme Court's decision, I don't believe they made a right decision with that one. They dropped the ball on that, in my opinion.
So you don't think, so Johnny, just to be clear, so you like guns, right? You're interested. I mean, you like being able to own a gun. Wait, let me clarify. You like being able to own a gun, right? But you don't feel like the conceal and carry gun law in New York is, you think that it was the wrong decision for them to strike that down.
Yeah, I think it was a wrong for them to strike it down. I feel like you should have the ability. I mean, you should be the conceal and carry just means you need to be licensed, right, to
Hmm.
carry a gun.
Yep. And
And
conceal it.
yep,
Yeah.
that's fine.
You're okay. Okay.
I yeah,
All right.
I agree with that. But the
Yeah.
reason I think
Go ahead.
sticky is because people feel like they're like if you're like pro gun, it's so like extremist. Like you're pro gun or anti gun. I think that some of the laws should be implemented to keep the right people holding guns. My opinion.
Okay, real quick comments online. Oh, Mike Winter, they do not care that these cities will be full of crazy people with guns. There was just a crazy dude in the subway shooting people for no reason. You can own it, but why the hell do people need to be carrying around a gun all the time? Jose says, but why own a gun? All right. So, um, here are my thoughts on the gun law and Supreme Court. There's an inherent problem with the gun laws because I remember DC had a similar issue um, not too long ago passed gun where they passed laws restricting the purchase of guns and the conceal and carry laws. Um, and the problem is that there is a Second Amendment. I mean, it explicitly states that you have a right to bear arms. I mean, it's not unclear. It's very straightforward. It says it, and even with a liberal Supreme Court, you know, at the time, they shot down DC's law because it's explicit in the Constitution, which is the founding document of our country. Um, Now, is it antiquated? Should it be gone? Absolutely. I mean, we need to, Jacqueline
Yeah.
Robinson talked about the repeal of we had the prohibition was an amendment, right? And then we had the
Yeah.
repeal of prohibition, which was an amendment. Nothing wrong with amending the Second Amendment and um, changing it.
So, Neo, just really, I mean, a point of clarification. The Second Amendment really just says that the U.S. needs to regulate and to have a standing militia. And that being the case, it's a security thing, and you have the right to bear arms, and your right to bear arms will not be infringed. So, good news. You have one of the top militaries in the world. So, you don't need to worry about the evil king of England coming and taking away your rights and privileges. You don't have to worry about foreign nations landing on US soil because everybody knows that that's the big stick. You and Russia, those are the big sticks, and China. So stay the fuck away from those places. You don't land people there. It's so you don't need a standing militia. You don't need all of your citizens to be armed. You don't need citizens who have the ability to amass guns, ammunition, who have the ability to go to the beach and decide that they're going to bring their gun. What the fuck? Why are you bringing a gun to the beach? In case that pesky shark comes at you? No, come on.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you as to your reasoning. What I'm saying is the problem with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court didn't make the wrong decision. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that the Supreme Court made the wrong decision. My thing is the problem is with the lawmakers. The problem lies with the lawmakers. The lawmakers. It's not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, I think, may have made the right decision here on this one. Okay.
But
Um,
the
but Yanni?
but with the law in New York, I thought that they shot down the law that said that you had to have a reason, like a good enough reason to have that gun if you were
Yeah,
questioned.
so
I thought that
a license to carry a weapon outside of your household. So now they struck that down. So you don't need a license to carry a gun outside of your household. That's to give reason, to provide reason, and then they license you for that use. But now that's no longer the case. You no longer need that license to carry your weapon outside of your household.
Yeah,
More
I
guns on
mean,
the streets
it
because
feels
people
like they are
still abuse
overstepping.
of
I mean,
guns.
Mike Winter says that it's literally a one sentence, which it is. So it's not. And the problem with that being the one sentence is you have to read into it a lot. How do you really interpret it? You know,
and you did.
it's pretty straightforward. You have the right to bear arms. Boom, right? And so you're like, okay, what does that entail? I mean, they weren't thinking about licenses back then. They weren't thinking about conceal and carry. They weren't thinking about mass shootings and all the things that we deal with. What I'm saying is, I'm not sure the Supreme Court made the wrong decision. I'm just saying, I think the lawmakers need to make better decisions. That's what I'm saying.
Hmm?
The lawmakers need to, re- I would repeal altogether the Second Amendment or at least modify it significantly. Um,
So you
yeah.
feel people shouldn't have guns in this country at all?
I'm
Um, I'm
I'm a
okay
little
with
torn.
people having guns for hunting and leisure. That's, you know what, if you belong to a gun club, if you enjoy skeet shooting and your gun is properly stored at the facility and they're responsible for it, if you enjoy hunting and your firearms are locked up properly, you're properly licensed for it and you are trained for it, then absolutely go for it. But for a stroll in the park, to go shopping, I don't need to be strapped. And I that's coming from a privileged lens living in Canada because we have very very different outlook on gun regulation. And what
That's true.
sucks for you is that, what about the other states and territories that currently have restrict concealed carry permits, similar to what New York did? They're absolutely at risk. And what scares me is that your federal government will not have blanket laws to protect its citizens. The individual states, like Neil was saying, the individual states and the governors have an ethical duty to enact laws to protect their citizens because of what's going on right now. I've ripped on the insanity of American gun culture, and that insanity clearly has made its way to your highest court.
Yeah. I'm just not sure that it can be. I just wish they would amend the Second Amendment so that, like you say, states can then make decisions. I think some states will make bad decisions, like they make like Texas and Florida. Obviously, they'll make bad decisions for their laws. Um, but to your question, Gianni, I'm not sure that you know if I have states like Texas and Florida and people in Texas and Florida, loading up on guns, and I have no protection myself. I feel a little naked. I feel a little vulnerable. Um,
Hmm.
so, as to your answer of should I not have the right to have a gun? I think I should. I just think that there need to be, if we,
Or should you be protected from somebody's right to purchase these weapons?
unfortunately,
If
Rob, the
if you
problem
don't
is I
have
live in a
purpose
country
for
where
it,
I don't trust the police
Yeah, we kind of
to
it's
protect me.
a
and Mike
different
Wolf
culture.
mentioned that too.
Yeah, we
Uh,
don't trust. It's kind of like we don't trust even like I don't know. I wish I kind of grew up in the, like you said, Rob, like a little bit of more of a privilege of the community, and you can not to say that you can trust your government or your country, but you kind of can in some degree. I don't know if you can, but I just feel like where I come from, the people that I know, they do not trust anybody, barely anybody, even in their family. So it's like for them to not have a gun wouldn't even make, that's not even, it's just almost a survival thing. And I kind of understand how we have to shift our mind and shift to that. I think idealistically there would be no guns, but in this climate now, it's still that type of mindset where it's like
it's just,
survival and
yeah, it's a
sorry.
tough, no, you're great. It's a tough thing to like to weigh. Like I don't feel safe. The police don't make me feel safe. I was in DC last night for a Corinne Bailey Rae concert, by the way, which I loved. If everybody, I mean, Liz has made it clear. I love me some Corinne Bailey Rae, but there was all these police around and things like that, and not that I'm not. I've been pulled over by the police, and even recently, and I'm like, it's just not a pleasant feeling, and I don't trust that police have my best interest in mind. And if I'm looking for protections, I don't trust that they'll protect me the way I need to be protected from. I just don't trust it. So that's the only reason I'm torn, really.
Yeah.
If we had a country where I felt comfortable, where the police are protecting their people the way they should be, then I could feel you on. Okay, no, nobody really needs a gun. We're good. Um, let me see. Let me go through these comments. There's a lot. Um,
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Mike Winter, a well-regulated militia is how the Second Amendment started, right? George Fournier, we are no longer in the Wild West where such laws made sense. I'm tired of hearing about the right to bear arms. I feel you.
Mhm.
The quickest, this is Jacqueline Robinson, the quickest way to put gun restrictions in place is to have a black gun owners organization that believes in the letter of the law of the Second Amendment, as well as open carry laws. Those restrictions would be put in place quick, fast, and in a hurry. I mean, as we were talking, I was just thinking about the Black Panthers and how they were open and carry. They were following the laws. They were making sure that they had their guns, and they were considered a threat to the government.
Yep.
They're a threat, and so they were the FBI shut them down. Mike Wolf, on one hand, there should be stronger, more consistent regulations on gun ownership. On the other hand, I'm not sure I trust the police to be the only ones with the guns. Right. And then,
It's
yeah. And then Mike Winter, do we have a well-regulated militia? Question mark. Then you do not even get the right to bear arms part. It is simple. Um, Mike Wolf says treat guns like cars. Jeanette Brown says, I understand people's desire to own guns more than I ever expected to. I never expected to as a mother, and now I sometimes think I should because I'm a mother. And I want to be able to defend my kids if necessary. We are at a
aw.
very divisive place in US history, and it is not unreasonable for reasonable people to want to be able to protect themselves. At the same time, we're in the midst of a mental health crisis, and more guns means more deaths. Gun ownership should be at least as closely monitored as driving, at minimum. Jeanette Brown says, we don't trust the police for a reason. Sherry Blaine says, I was about to type a comment going on about Canada's laws, but then the topic of trust surrounding the police came up. And I stopped to think about what that world would feel like. Tough topic indeed.
Oh,
And I have to
Jo-
say, Johnny, the Canadian government, the Canadian authorities, law enforcement have had their share of missteps. And I mean, they fucked up. They have historically also.
yeah,
This is not solely an American thing, but
yeah,
I think it's just the ease of access to these weapons and ammunition that makes a powder keg situation. And that's why you have the highest number of mass shootings per capita. You America's number one, and you
yeah.
crush it. Nobody else will ever. We can combine the rest of the world, and I don't know that we could even. If this was an Olympic event, it's yours. You've got it, bar none.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the comments online. I may have belittled the significance of when I said the FBI shut them down. They did more than that. When I say shut them down, they killed them. They killed
Yeah,
many of the Black Panthers.
yeah.
So that's the society we are in, and it's just a difficult thing to deal with. All right, we got to
But
talk
I do,
about. Go ahead.
Rob.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I do appreciate Rob's like perspective because it almost is like not that we should strive to be Canada, but a lot of like they have a lot of laws that make sense if you were an enlightened being or if you were somebody who just got along and just kind of was with the flow of things, up to
I
speed.
would say take a look at the laws in the gun laws in Australia and the restrictions that they had there because they had their last mass shooting was 80s or 90s, and after it occurred, they imposed harsh restrictions on firearms, very similar to what we have in Canada, and it really took a bite out of that trend. I understand the cultural implications. I understand the issues with people not trusting the current law enforcement system as it is, and it's America's broken in so
It's
many
it,
ways.
it's and that's why it's such a tough issue. I mean, that's why I don't like the Second Amendment being there because you can't really address the difficulties in society today the way they need to be addressed. Because there's just like this this one standard of you have the right to bear arms and that's it. And there's you can't really create the proper laws to deal with the issue.
Yeah,
Or even the complexity of the issue is more accurate.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
Now we need to go into the other stuff. I mean, the other things that because the Supreme Court has been like this is a
Hot
horrible
roll.
Supreme Court. Um, I,
Honest.
I mean, so
Yeah,
we're
it is.
looking. All right, so of course they decided to strike down Roe v. Wade, right? But on top of that, Clarence Thomas put out there that he wants to go after uh, LGBTQ plus rights and contraception. So,
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore about him, as Thomas specifically.
Oh,
He's just basically one of the worst people I've ever, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway. So Clarence Thomas, okay, was infamously accused for, uh, infamously was accused before being confirmed to the court by Anita Hill for sexual harassment, right?
mhm.
Um, but he's been spearheading this attack on women's rights, and although rarely providing an official opinion, he provided a concurring opinion on this Roe v. Wade thing, where he pushes the court to revisit other cases that have been decided that are related to contraception, sex laws, sodomy laws. He wrote that in future cases, we should consider all of this court's substantive due process precedents because any substantive due process decision is demonstrably erroneous. And we have a duty to correct the error established in those precedents. And that's something that Alexandria Ocasio Cortez warned of. I mean, she was saying, hey, they're not just going after abortion, they're going after all of it. They're going after, and like I say, this sexual harasser, is spearheading all of this. So,
Mhm.
what do you guys think about this? What do you think about Roe v. Wade? What do you think about them going after all the LGBTQ rights? You know, what do you think about this court, Robbie?
Ooh,
They've really attacked the American people this week, and it's shameful. I feel for the American people. Each Supreme Court justice, except Clarence Thomas, prior to being sworn in, when they were asked about Roe v. Wade, stated that Roe was a precedent of the U.S. Supreme Court and that it had been reaffirmed so many times that they wouldn't touch it. But well, they clearly lied to you. They clearly lied. Um, and the hypocrisy of it just hurts my brain so much because on one day they're putting more guns on the streets and making it more accessible, endangering American lives, but the next day they're all about the preservation of life and the fetus. And the hypocrisy really just it hurts. It really hurts, and this is just it's control culture under the guise of morality, and it's sickening. It sickens me even more that some Canadian politicians have applauded this decision. So I think of my daughter, I think of my nieces, I think of my granddaughter, and I mean, I don't wish for any of them to have an abortion, but if they ever found themselves in a situation in life where this was the course of action that they felt was best for them and their lives, I would support them every step of the way, and they should have access to a safe medical procedure. I'm baffled. American people, like Canadians, are looking in and going, WTF, but also recognizing that there is a segment of our population that absolutely supports this decision. Also, it's always been very divisive, but at the end of the day, this is a medical procedure, and it needs to be reflected that way. It needs to be viewed that way. The American women, by virtue of this decision, have been relegated to a second-class citizen. And you are breeders in the eyes of the SCOTUS by virtue of this opinion, this decision. It boggles the mind.
Gianni,
Boggles the mind.
you're the resident lady on the panel today.
yeah. So I mean, when we saw the leak or we heard about the leak and we covered it, we kind of I mean, I felt like this was coming. It's still shocking though, this overturning, but whether you're pro-choice, pro-life, whatever you want to call yourself, all the labels, I think it's just you have to see that now this is impeding on our rights as people to do what we want to do, more specifically women. Um, but I mean, I'm just as like upset about this as anybody who has been fighting for this for a long time. But I think that like I was reading comments and under different articles. You know, there's a million articles going on, but I was reading comments and how people were saying it's just so divisive. I'm sorry. It's just so many thoughts in my head because I just feel like it's so divisive and people think just like with the gun laws thing, it's you're pro this or you're pro that. And I think that you have to like cut through that bullshit and just look at it for what it is. Like that's them, it's our rights. They're taking away our rights. And the next thing is like Neo brought up Clarence Thomas wanting to revisit gay rights, wanting to revisit contraception, same-sex marriage, all of that stuff. And whether you're for it or not, whether it goes against your religious or your own moral grounds or not, it's just look at it for what it is. They're saying that somebody can't do something like that they were born here to want to be able to do. You know what I mean? So take away all of the like theatrics, take away all of what you are believe like strongly about this and just look at it for what it actually the action is. And that is extremely upsetting. I'm not surprised, but I'm also I'm kind of nervous about the timeline of events here. Like when it does come to if they are going to actually take away contraception or make it hard for contraception, which is birth control, and same-sex marriage. I don't think I, I don't know. I'm frustrated as hell.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated as hell. I have a lot of feelings, but
I don't like that he's actively going after these things. I don't like that the goal is to go after all of these previous rulings.
Mhm.
I like what Mike Winter says. He says he wants to go after all of the substantive due process cases. That includes Loving, which was a substantive due process case. And Loving was the ruling that allowed interracial couples to marry.
Yep.
And
Oh,
as
I
you
guess he's on
know,
the outs with Ginny.
Clarence Thomas is right, married to a white woman. Um, but it also includes the right to have anal or oral sex. It also includes heterosexual married couples. That's what Mike Winter's saying. And I mean, this is an inherent problem in the Constitution itself, and of course our lawmakers again, is because there's nothing explicit in the like we have the right to bear arms. It's pretty explicit, right? Second Amendment's
Yep.
very straightforward, unfortunately. Um, but there's nothing explicit saying we have a right to protect and choose what we do to our bodies, to ourselves. I mean, I reread the Constitution in preparation, the entire Constitution, including the amendments, and there's nothing directly saying that we have those rights to control. We have even Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who tried to hang on, so we didn't
Shit.
get to this point. I mean, I really wish she had retired when Obama asked her to. So, but she criticized the decision both before and after she joined the high court. She said, this talking about Roe, she said that it would have been better to take a more incremental approach to legalize abortion rather than using the ruling in Roe versus Wade to invalidate state anti-abortion laws. She suggested the ruling would have been more durable if it had been based on equal protection clause in the 14th Amendment, meaning that if it had focused on gender equality rather than the right to privacy, which, by the way, the right to privacy is also not explicit in the Constitution. It was extrapolated. What they did is they said that other amendments established a right to privacy. So,
Hmm.
and if you look at the 10th Amendment, right, it says that uh, it's it says that any rights not provided by the Constitution goes to the states and the people, which is what is happening here, right? So the Supreme Court is not necessarily wrong in their ruling. I think they're wrong because it's definitely a political agenda that they're executing, um, and we inherently have these rights. We know they're human rights, right? These are human rights.
It's a political slash moral agenda, and being good to one another is being ethical. Being moral is when you take a position on a higher authority. So if you use, say, a holy book to have the moral authority somewhere, it doesn't mean that you're right, but you have the moral authority. It this really this is separation of church and state, and it's terrible that it really is at the end of the day, because one political party does have an agenda, not officially, but their proponents, their supporters will say, hey, I'm with them because of these values that are reflected in this party, because they say the right things, and these people are tickled pink right now. It's
So
like even Congressman, I think it was Congresswoman Mary Miller with Donald Trump called the Supreme Court overturning a victory for white life. Yikes. So her office had to backpedal hard on this, but she said it because, I mean, this is white
even if it's a
Christian
Freudian
values
slip,
that are being
it's
reflected, right?
Even-
But these are Christian values that are being reflected in this decision. And I hope that the synagogues will come back hard and declare that this is a violation of their freedom of religion. I really hope that this is going to galvanize people to fight this hard, because I know that like they're rallying to fight against this. Because they have to. They absolutely have to.
and you guys know I'm a staunch. I mean, I'm absolutely pro-choice. I mean, I'm anti-abortion at the same time, but I'm absolutely pro-choice because I believe we should have the right to decide what happens to our bodies. But it comes down to lawmakers. They need to fix the fucking laws. I mean, the founding fathers never considered life existing before an actual live birth, right?
Mm.
I mean, basically, when you come out of the womb, you're born. This is when life started for them. Let's be real.
And this is a period of life where there were more miscarriages, there were more stillbirths because medically we weren't there.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
were God performed abortions at that time. It wasn't a physician.
Exactly. And,
Think
and I
about
mean,
that one.
you're making a good point because years ago, and this is little known, um, you know, you know, I, you know, I had to deal with um, a child being conceived, and 8 weeks in, I heard a heartbeat. It was fantastic. 2 weeks
Wow.
later, there's no heartbeat. When does life really start? I mean, we're talking about, they're using science, right? It's amazing how these people like to use science to justify what they needed to justify, right? So if you're talking
That's
vaccines, oh no, there's no science to make climate change.
Don't
That
trust the
doesn't make
science.
sense, right?
Don't trust the
But
science.
but now when they want to talk about life starts at blah blah blah, let me show you the science for it. It all makes sense all of a sudden, right? I
Mhm.
mean, where's the life that I conceived? It wasn't viable at that point. How do we know? When do we decide what life is? This isn't about, and
Yeah.
it's a very difficult topic because we're talking about you know, life, a new life, birth, and all that stuff. And outside of maybe assisted abortion, right? It's probably one of the more difficult things to kind of deal with. It's probably, but this is about controlling what happens to your body, and it's not just
Oh
about
yes.
women. I'm so tired about this issue being about abortion. It's not what this is about. It's
no,
not even
It's
just
about
about
controlling
women's
women.
rights. It's not
no.
even just about that. I need to be able to control what happens to my body. I mean, think about it. If I want to, if I want to go and get boobies and cut off my penis, I should have the right to do that. You know, I'm just saying I should have that right. If I
Could have
want
it.
to.
You could do very true. I
I,
agree.
I mean, we need to be able to allow people. It'd be different if I were affecting other people, right? If
Very
of
different.
course, there should definitely be laws if I go out to kill somebody. There definitely be laws if I go out and attack somebody, or if I cut somebody else's balls off and without their permission, or you know,
Well, so then, should you be licensed to use your penis? Should this be gradual licensing? Until you know how to use it responsibly, we're going to give you a vasectomy. It's reversible. We've stored your boys, but we have graduated licensing for driving. It takes 2 years to demonstrate that you're a competent driver. Well, you know what? You're starting to have these sexual thoughts. Let's put the training wheels on you, shall we? This is graduated. It's yeah, no.
It's
I mean,
that's
I'm trying to make light because this is just it is so devastating. But
uh,
yeah.
like, when they're coming after the bans on contraception and everything, it's like, well, you know what? If you're going to push that agenda, are you also going to ban Viagra? Because if pregnancy is God's will, then so is your flaccid penis.
good point. I mean, and the
Thank
other
you.
thing, when we talk about rights, I mean, this ruling opens up the reality that this could be like China, where we can have forced sterilizations because you don't have a right to decide what happens to your body. We should be, we should have the right, states should also have the right to enact laws that allow you to snip men who do something wrong, that or whatever it is. I mean, all I'm saying is by not having the right to control your own medical decisions, what happens to you and your body, that's a problem. You know, I mean, it's being this the abortion issue is a part of the problem, is a major issue, obviously, but it's the bigger problem is being able to control what happens to you, what you
Mhm.
want to do. I mean, people don't like it, fuck them. You don't have to like it.
And
It's me. It's my choices.
And I think that we need to acknowledge that there are many large employers in the United States, many employers that do not stand by Roe v. Wade, there's a lot of companies that have stepped up and have said that they're going to cover abortion travel and expenses for their employees. A lot of because Bungie Games, for example, cited that they've gone to a digital first platform, which means you can work anywhere in the country and you're an employee of Bungie. So they're enshrining your rights within their corporate structure. So the Bungie, Starbucks, Tesla, Yelp, Airbnb, Netflix, Patagonia, DoorDash, PayPal, JP Morgan Chase, Levi Strauss and Company, Dick's Sporting Goods, Disney, Meta, Condé Nast, Zillow, Lyft, Uber, BuzzFeed, and Reddit. So those are just a few of the big players who have stepped up right away and said, this is bullshit. Don't worry, we're going to help you. So absolutely, I hope that more people will step up this way. And if you live in a trigger state, if you operate in a state that has trigger laws that have come into effect, then move your base of operations. Pull your business out of these red states that are going to be putting these bans on your sisters, your wives, your daughters, your cousin, like that's one effective way to do it.
All right, John, let me give you the last comment before I get to these last online comments.
As we see, this is only the first, or not the first, but it's not going to end here. Basically, I don't believe so. I think that our rights are our rights are being taken from us. I'm not being dramatic. I know that not a lot of people agree with this because a lot of people associate pro-choice with people who want to kill babies. That's not what we want to do. But I do feel like I have no words. I mean, I think there's going to be a civil war. I know you guys always see
It does feel like it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It does feel like it.
Like it's like they're trickling down to something. It just is that I feel it anxiously.
And there's actually been talk about that. I think I read some article where someone, I forget, I think it was Texas, someone in Texas was trying to secede from the union, and I think they were going to put in something to try to start doing that. So I think we're leading down that path and heading down. I agree with you, Johnny. Let me get to these comments online before we close this out. It's okay. Abortion. Jeanette Brown says abortion is a medical procedure that changes women's lives, and yet without men, no woman needs an abortion ever. I say we go to Listrada. No abortion, no sex. Um, She also says a life form that may or may not develop into a healthy human should not have more rights than a living, breathing human. And that's what my point was. She actually succinctly put into words what I was saying. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen. It's not alive yet, And so, uh, to put that life ahead of the life that's here, it's ridiculous. Especially when a child completely changes the course of a woman's life and men can and do walk away. That was from Jeanette Brown. Mike Winter says, I think 2 states give the unfertilized eggs more rights than women who carry them. I agree with you. I mean, it's really. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we only had one main topic today, basically talking about the SCOTUS. So is this truth, lies? The SCOTUS, Supreme Court, truth, lies, or shenanigans?
All kinds of bullshit, and just my brain hurts. No.
So I'm just so frustrated with this. This kind of George Fournier, this kind of issue should not be left to a referendum, not justices. Bullshit is right. You gotta. I mean,
Very
I would like to see lawmakers step up. I think we need to get to the polls again. We have to, and it can't. It's not really about the president. This has to be about our representatives and our local representatives, local offices. We really need the midterms are going to be so important to get out and vote, because the only people that can really make these laws is to do an amendment. You need 2/3 vote, 66% of the vote, and in the Senate it doesn't exist, And if the midterms don't work out, it's not going to exist in the House either. All right, we're going to have to switch gears. We got to lighten this up just a little bit. Let's get to our game show. Just a little bit because our game show continues the conversation a little bit. All right. So, it's only the two of you going head to head today. But basically, we're playing. I don't want to call it abortion trivia, but we're calling it abortion trivia. We're going to say pro-choice trivia. That's what we're going to call it. All right. So pro-choice trivia. This quiz is created by the ACLU. The way it works, we'll go round robin style. If you get the correct answer, you get a point. Whoever collects the most points gets the final thought for the show. Mike Winter, just one comment. Mike Winter says, check out the Pottstown Rumble finals online after the show. All right, we'll do that. All right. So, again, ACLU, final thought for the show if you get the most points. Start with Gianni. Which state was the first to legalize abortion? Alaska, Hawaii, New York, Washington, or all of the above?
Ooh, New York.
You going with New York?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. Incorrect. Hawaii became the first state to legalize abortion in 1970, though the law only applied to residents of the state. Later that year, New York legalized abortion. So you were close, for both residents of the state as well as residents of other states. Alaska and Washington followed, in addition to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
All right, Robbie, true or false? Roe v. Wade was the first abortion case to reach the Supreme Court.
I'm going to say false.
False. That is correct. United States versus Vujic was the first case about abortion to reach the Supreme Court. ACLU General Counsel argued the case in which a doctor challenged the constitutionality of a District of Columbia law permitting abortion only to preserve a woman's life or health.
Mm.
All right. Robbie's in the lead. All right. Gianni Storm. Roughly how many anti-abortion restrictions have state legislatures passed since Roe v. Wade? 55, 300, 896, or 1,300?
That is such a specific question. Good God. I'm going to say 800.
800?
808.
896?
Yeah.
That is incorrect.
Oh, 1,300. That was
Wow.
way off.
All right. Since Roe v. Wade was decided in 1973, more than 1,300 restrictions have been passed by state legislatures across 47 states. Though many have been blocked by courts, too many have gone into effect and created unnecessary barriers to abortion, including laws that prevent people from using their insurance to pay for an abortion, force clinics to shut down, and ban abortions as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy, which is approximately 2 weeks after a missed period. All of these laws push abortion further and further out of reach and mean that the right to an abortion is a right in name only for too many people. All right, Robbie, in what ways are states trying to force people to remain pregnant? Prohibiting the use of insurance for abortion, passing medically unnecessary restrictions, forcing patients to make unnecessary trips to the clinic, banning abortion completely, or all of the above?
All of them. All of them.
All of the above. That's correct. You're about to get an easy one. Forced pregnancy laws take many different forms and vary significantly across states. They include prohibiting the use of insurance for abortion, making it unaffordable for those struggling to make ends meet, passing medically unnecessary restrictions that are impossible to comply with, and shut clinics down, forcing patients to make extra unnecessary trips to the clinic. All right. Next question. Gianni, which state has an abortion case at the Supreme Court this term? Is it Mississippi, Kentucky, Texas, or all of the above?
Oh, crap. Texas. They're famous for something. Texas.
I think it's all of the above.
All of the above. I think Mississippi and Kentucky were.
Our Supreme Court kicked off the term by hearing oral arguments in October in a case whereby the ACLU that will determine whether Kentucky politicians can continue attempts to ban a standard abortion procedure. Shortly after those arguments, Texas, and then both these arguments came in the shadow of a challenge to a Mississippi abortion. And that's the one
Okay.
that has just been decided. All right. All right. What would happen? This is Rob B. What would happen if the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade? All right. So we know this. About half the states would ban abortion. Politicians would pass even more cruel laws like SB 8, Texas's abortion ban. And a nationwide ban on abortion could be passed and signed into law if an anti-abortion Congress and president is elected.
I'm not too sure about that last one, but first two look good to me as far as correct answers. So I'm going to have to go with all of the above.
That is correct. All of the above.
So mathematically speaking, this is my win. My win.
Mathematics.
Chances to come up with 3 right answers.
So, all right. Last one. Last question. Abortion bans disproportionately impact people who are, Gianni, Black people and people of color, low income, LGBTQ+, rural, all of the above.
All of the above.
That is correct. And Rob B, you officially win the game. All right. That was a fun game. Before we close out, let's get some shout outs in. All right, John.
Every
I think we're losing your audio. Hold on. I think we're losing your audio. What is it again?
Okay. Now?
All right, we hear you now.
Okay. I would think shout out to all the kids ready for I know that we're not a show
All right, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come back to you. We missed it, so I'm gonna come back to you. Rob B, what's your shout out?
Not so much a shout out, but a rally call to all of the men out there. It's time to stand side by side with your sisters. Lobby your politicians, lobby your lawmakers, march with your wives and daughters, march for your sisters who have had their rights violated by the highest court in your country. Shame on them. We need to end this attack on a woman's right to choose.
All right. And my shout out goes to Lizzie. It was her birthday on Friday. So happy birthday, Lizzie. Happy birthday. We wish you were here with us today so we could really celebrate. But I'm gonna turn the music down. So Gianni, repeat your shout out real quick.
Oh, I was saying happy birthday to all the cancers, and Lizzie is a cancer as well. So happy birthday to you, Liz, and happy birthday to me, July 7th. We won't be here for the show, but yeah, shout out to the cancers. Woo-hoo.
All right, so yeah, your birthday's coming up too, right? So all right, awesome. So we'll see you on the 10th. All right. That is officially all the time we have for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. We hope that you maybe learned something, gained a new perspective, even got some things off your chest if you had something to say. A lot of people talking online. We will be offline next weekend. We will be back, though, live July 10th. And there is no after show today. But looks like our winner for our final thought for the show is Mr. Rob B. Rock. Second win in a row, isn't it?
I know.
I think so.
All right. Good job, Rob B. Close us out.
Well, I came across this gem credited to Jason Love today. Live each day like it's your second to the last. That way you can fall asleep at night.
I like that. All right. That's funny. All right. Thank you, Gianni and Rob V. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a wonderful conversation. Most importantly, we got to thank you for watching and listening to our shenanigans each and every week. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one, guys.